Sequence start 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And good evening to you guys. Hello out there. Look at everybody joining in. We have got Hopkinson, Marjorie Foster, Tariq, R Factor, New Jersey Devil, Flick Off, Shane Smith. Hey to everybody out there. R Factor, I don't know if you got my email or not. This is yours, ready to go out to you. I had to get a new I had to switch over. My printer was not printing. It was all streaking and everything. So we had to get a new cartridge in there. But anyway, I've got your stuff printed out. I was thinking about taking it out today to get mailed earlier, but I was not going out in that rain. It's raining so hard. It was raining so hard overnight and today that they even canceled our soccer match that I had today. So my team was really looking forward to it because this is one of the weaker teams we were playing today, and we were looking forward to a good victory today because we got our butts whooped last week. It was did not make me happy. We were ranked number 1, and the other team ranked at number 1 with us. They whooped us pretty good, and it was totally our fault. Our guys were not in sync with each other, so I had a good talk with them at practice on Monday, and we were gonna redeem ourselves today in this game, and then it got canceled. They rescheduled it, so we'll still get to. In fact, it'll be our last game of the season, so we'll be able to go out on a good note. But anyway, so R Factor will have that out to you. I guess it'll go out Monday morning. So good to see everyone out there. How are you getting along? Have you got rain out where you are? Anybody on the East Coast catching some of this mess coming up from the south? We have got about 40 people at the moment. Hopefully that'll kick in here in a little while and folks will start pouring in. Hit the like button right now if you would, so we can trigger that algorithm to say, hey, this content must be good, so let's push it out to a larger number of people. I used to get the first 24 hours, I'd usually have at least 10,000 views on a video, and then within a couple of days, we'd be up to around 40,000 and up from there. But now, with the way the algorithm hurts us, we're lucky to have about maybe 1,000 to 2,000 views the first 24 hours. So it really does make a difference out there, you guys, when you are active, not only by hitting the like button, but also after the stream is over and it becomes a regular video. If you'll go in and leave a quick little comment there, I don't think it really registers these chat messages for the purpose of the algorithm, but it does when you leave comments afterward. And it's kind of frustrating because it resets the view count. So if I have, say, a couple thousand views during the live stream, after it goes up, after the stream's over and it goes up there, it'll kind of reset it back to 0. I don't know why it does that, but anyway. So, hey, Steven out there, good to see you. Chatted a little bit with Steven this week. So anyway, here's what we're going to do. The goal of Jake tonight is to finish in approximately 1 hour from now. That would be around 10:40 p.m. is the goal. 10:40 p.m. Eastern time. I'll try and keep this stuff short. I do have to run out of town tomorrow on some fun business, but anyway, so I got to get my tail in bed tonight, get some sleep. I'll have about 8 hours of driving tomorrow. Shane says, I'm in South Carolina and it's been hit or miss for us. I had a dream about South Carolina last night, about my grandparents' farm there. Marjorie says, Florida sunshine with afternoon showers as usual. Glad we're getting a break from this, this hurricane season. My dad's still down in Miami. I remember how it was down there, South Florida, when I lived there. Rain. But then it would clear up fast, be done with it. So we are going to talk about this whole James Comey thing, and then we'll do a drawing at the end for anyone who makes donations. So let me explain that real quick, and then we'll get started. If you are new to the channel, Blackstone does not receive advertising from YouTube. No advertising revenue, not a penny. So we rely completely on donations and support from our viewers. Been at this since around 2013, and we cover all kinds of stuff. For those who are new, I am not far left or far right. If anything, I swing libertarian on a lot of stuff, but not everything. I'm a former diehard Republican from years ago, very staunch Republican, up until I saw that George W. Bush was running for president, and I did not want to see a repeat of a neocon administration. And so I campaigned hard against him. I worked as the state campaign director for Steve Forbes, who was running in 2000. And but if, it was kind of a foregone conclusion that Bush was going to win, which he did. And then we got all of the neocon agenda, just like some of us were fearing. And that's at the point when I said I'm done with the Republicans, and they just this diehard support for war, the swing toward supporting, trying to strong arm the Middle East into compliance because of our neocon desire to go over there and take their oil and things like that. It just really soured me on the party. So while I continue to empathize with a lot of the concerns of the people on the right, I've also over the years developed an understanding of the issues that are important to people on the left. And while there are a lot of things, a lot of especially social issues and big government spending issues that I don't agree with on the left, I still make an effort to find common ground with people on both sides of the aisle, because I believe that our system that we have set up only works when we try to cooperate with each other rather than conquer each other. This us versus them mentality, where it's all out war, we have to have total victory and they have to have no victory, it doesn't work. That just is a terrible thing for the country. So where we can find common ground, we do it and make the best we can out of the system that we have. This stuff today that we're going to be talking about is an example of a combination of left versus right, but more so than that, it is a one person against his enemies, and is very distressing to me to see what is happening and why, and that so many people are cheerleading the weaponization of the justice system against certain enemies. It's not that I like these people. In fact, toward the end, I've got a 5 to 7 minute video from, I think, 2017 that I did back when I was reporting on James Comey back then, and I'll play that for you, and you'll see my perspective at that point, and you'll see that I am no fan of Jim Comey. But of course, I'm no fan of Donald Trump. So I'm going to give you both sides. I think that I can give you a fairly balanced view of the facts surrounding this mess that's going on. And then in the end, you can just make up your own doggone mind about what to think. I'll just give you the facts and give you my perspective. For tonight's drawing, here are the ways to enter. You can do a super chat donation. $5 or more gets your name entered on in the drawing. Put your name on a slip of paper. It goes in our handy dandy jar here. We'll shake it up and draw a name. So for every $5 increment donation, you'll get one entry. If we have under $100 in total donations, then we're working with what's a tier 1 prize, and that prize would include the following options. 1, this air freshener did not hang itself. Jeff Epstein will be yours to love and care for. You can dangle him from your rearview mirror or whatever you want to do. Another option is a free Palestine bracelet. Free Palestine written in English and Arabic. You can have a free month of my Substack subscription where I publish my Blackstone reports. So the information in tonight's show, I'll type up and put out as a Substack report. So you can get Substack, Patreon, or YouTube channel membership. The YouTube channel memberships are the formatting is not quite as good, meaning it's a little bit harder to see the I can't put the photos in the same way that I can on Substack and everything, but you'll get that. Now you can also donate. You can see here on the screen, Patreon, you can become a member of $5 or more there. Substack, you make a PayPal donation, paypal.me/BlackstoneIntel or buymeacoffee.com/BlackstoneIntel. Any of those will get you entered into tonight's drawing. The easiest for me to see is going to be Super Chat donation. Anyone who makes a donation of $50 will get a Palestine support kit, which would be the bracelet, a lapel pin, a Palestine flag, a booklet that I have, and also a couple random stickers, all to show your support for the Palestinians who are under great duress as Israel once again ramps up its slaughter of the civilian population over in the Gaza Strip. All right, so with that said, how about we jump right in? Give me a thumbs up out there if you are ready to get this party started. I want to make sure my chat's rolling over here. And hopefully my microphone doesn't pick up too much the rain outside. So I'm giving it just a second here. I'm not seeing any activity in the chat. Maybe I need to restart my chat. All right, there's Tariq out there. Very good. Thank you, good sir. Now I know it's active. All right. Let's jump in here. So, James Comey, what's going on? Under pressure from President Donald Trump, we now have the U.S. the U.S. Department of Justice, which is led by Trump's Attorney General, his former personal attorney, Pam Bondi. This is a woman who served as an attorney for him during one of his impeachments. She worked alongside Epstein lawyers Dershowitz and Ken Starr. So she was teamed up. Pam Bondi was teamed up with two of Epstein's main lawyers who got him that sweetheart deal with Alex Acosta. They were all defending Donald Trump. She's now heading the Justice Department, the Department of Injustice. They have filed charges against former FBI Director James Comey. Now, you may know this, you may not. James Comey was a lifelong Republican. He was actually appointed by a Democrat. He was appointed director of the FBI by President Barack Obama on September 4th, 2013. And he held that position as director of the FBI until May 9th, 2017. So here's the backstory to this feud between Donald Trump and James Comey, because as you can tell, if you've watched any of the statements this week from Donald Trump, he hates Comey with a passion and has for years. Hey, Dennis, good to see you out there. So between 2015 to 2016, Comey's FBI had been investigating Hillary Clinton. She was the former Secretary of State. She had been replaced by John Kerry, who had run against George W. Bush in the 2004 presidential election. FBI was investigating Hillary Clinton. Why? Because she had used, during her tenure as Secretary of State, she had been using a private email server that she owned, that she controlled, outside of the government systems to conduct her business. Quite a bit of it. So she's emailing classified information back and forth in this unsecured server email system. Now, Republicans were very suspicious of this when the information came out, because remember, there was the Benghazi scandal related to the gun running out of the port of Benghazi, out of the CIA annex that was there in Libya back after the overthrow of Muammar Gaddafi, who we helped to kill with cackling Hillary, having a great time laughing about that. But after Gaddafi was deposed and murdered, what happened was the extremists that the CIA was funding there in Libya to overthrow Gaddafi, they started diverting those same people from Libya to join with other extremists over in Syria. So they routed them around, and they came up through, they went into Iraq, they went into Syria. In the meantime, the weapons that they had been using in this fight against Gaddafi's forces, they took those weapons, along with other weapon caches, out of a CIA annex in Benghazi, shipped them through the ocean, through the Mediterranean, up through Turkey to a CIA base up there in Turkey, and then back down into Syria. And from there, they distributed these arms to the pro-West or Western allied, they weren't pro-West, but Western allied extremist groups that were in Syria and Iraq. Some of these extremist groups were al-Nusra, whose leader is today the president of Syria. There was Al-Qaeda. And so what happened was these extremist groups merged together and formed a new network called ISIS, the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, ISIL or ISIS. And we went from there. And that's what the USA and Turkey and Saudi Arabia, it's who they were pushing to try and overthrow Bashar al-Assad and his government in Syria. And so Hillary Clinton had been Secretary of State at the beginning of this. And the Republicans were like, you know what? If she's doing all this business, there's probably some dirty stuff in these emails. And so they subpoenaed the emails, and she deleted thousands upon thousands of emails that were on this server, wiped it or tried to wipe it so that they couldn't be subpoenaed. So basically, she got rid of the evidence. Whether or not there was anything in there that she could be condemned with, we'll never know for sure, unless there's a backup record of that somewhere that hasn't come out. But that was the scandal at the time, and that's why they were investigating Hillary Clinton. Not only that, but they were concerned that there was some dealing going on with her Clinton Foundation, pay-for-play dealing. So anyway, the FBI from 2015 to 2016, under James Comey, they were investigating Hillary Clinton. The Republicans in Congress, led by like Trey Gowdy was in there, they also investigated Hillary Clinton. They subpoenaed her. She gave congressional testimony. But in the end, the Republicans failed to produce any actionable evidence against Hillary. And so they closed their investigation against her. The Republicans in Congress did. They didn't have anything. In the FBI, they also found they claimed they didn't have enough information to justify any actions against her. And so in July of 2016, James Comey announced that that they were closing the investigation. He made a public statement. He said that while what she had done was extremely careless, in his view, they didn't have enough actionable evidence to prove wrongdoing, and so there would not be any criminal charges filed against her. That same month, now they were also investigating the Clinton Foundation throughout this time. Okay, so the FBI had two investigations going into Hillary Clinton. One, her Clinton Foundation with Bill over potential pay-for-play deals, and also the issue of the email server. So they closed the investigation in July 2016. Coincidentally, that same month, specifically on the 31st of July, the FBI opened a separate investigation, which they didn't talk about publicly yet, but a counterintelligence investigation into whether or not operatives connected to Russia were trying to form connections with people in the Trump campaign. So that investigation gets going. That's in July. Now, when you skip forward to October 2016, you've got the presidential race is going on. Hillary has a strong popular vote lead over Donald Trump, and she has a narrow electoral college lead due to support largely in certain swing states from the independent voters. The Democrats had their roughly 40% locked up of Democrat votes. Republicans had roughly 35-40% of the Republican votes. There were a lot of Republicans that were not supporting Trump, but not, they were tepid. So as it was, leading into October, it was her election to lose. But in late October 2016, what happened was James Comey announced, guess what? We have discovered some more emails on a laptop that belonged to Congressman Anthony Weiner from New York. Anthony Weiner was the husband of Hillary Clinton's close personal aide, Huma Abedin. So how did Hillary's emails end up on that? Well, clearly Huma Abedin was using this laptop, and the FBI gets hold of this. And so they're like, you know what? We need to reopen this investigation into Hillary Clinton. And so James Comey announced that they were reopening the investigation. And also, at this time in mid-October, just weeks before the November election, the FBI leaks to the Wall Street Journal that Comey's FBI was also investigating the Clinton Foundation over the pay-for-play, where the donors to the foundation, big players like Saudi royals and major people, they were possibly getting special treatment from the U.S. State Department, especially during the Clinton years, in exchange for their big donations to this Clinton Foundation. So you've got two big things that happen in October 2016. You have James Comey saying, we are once again looking into Hillary Clinton. We've got some emails. And by the way, we're also investigating her foundation for, corruption. And this is big news. By the end of October, Comey had said, you know what, we looked into it, same thing, bad, careless, whatever, but we don't see intent to do anything that would hold up in court, so we are not going to bring charges against Hillary. And they closed the case, but at that point, the damage was done. And it was huge. There were major swings in late October from independent voters away from Hillary toward Trump, because you've got Trump saying, we're going to drain the swamp. We're going to get rid of these people. He's out, he's in the debates talking about having Hillary arrested and or appoint a special prosecutor to go after her. So clearly, this is benefiting Donald Trump. What's going on here? And as a result of this, Trump goes on. He won a minor electoral. He lost the popular vote by millions of votes, but he won a narrow electoral victory in those swing states that swung the election to him. And it was a huge surprise to the establishment and to the media because they didn't see that. Now, if you remember my public predictions at the time, I had been saying this is Hillary's to lose up until October when that news came out. And then I published my electoral predictions, which I was within 7 to 10 points of being correct. I correctly predicted that Trump was going to take the election over Hillary, contrary to what the media was assuring the public was going to happen. It was a kind of a last-minute switch, but that was the case, and that's how it played out. So in later interviews, Hillary, to this day, she seethes whenever the issue is brought up in interviews because she blames that October surprise, James Comey announcing that the investigation into her has been reopened. She credits that as the major reason she lost the election in November. Now, there's a lot of factors as to why she lost, but that's certainly one of them. So that's November 2016. The following month, in December, the United Nations Security Council scheduled a vote to condemn the ongoing illegal settlement building on Palestinian lands by the state of Israel, by their militant settler community. Now, normally, Israel didn't have to worry too much about these kinds of resolutions because the U.S. government, which had permanent veto authority on the Security Council, they were always there to veto any criticism of Israel. And so because he had had a bad relationship with Netanyahu and his personal views and everything in general, as a snub to Israel on his way out of office, President Obama instructed his ambassador to the UN to abstain from that vote so that the other people on the council could vote their consciences and let's see what happens. Now, Israel knew they're in trouble because everybody else was against Israel on this issue. Knowing this, Israel contacted the Trump campaign and they said, look, we need you to work some magic here for us. We need you to persuade Russia to use their veto power as a permanent member of the council to shut down this resolution against Israel. So Trump's chosen national security advisor, a Democrat named Michael Flynn, a diehard Zionist who had been a paid lobbyist for despots like Recep Erdogan in Turkey and so forth. Mike Flynn gets in touch with the ambassador, the Russian ambassador to the UN. And he basically says, look, we're going to give you, incoming Trump administration, we're going to give you some sanctions relief and some perks if you will veto this resolution on behalf of Israel for us, since the U.S. ambassador is not going to vote to veto it. So, in the end, Russia didn't do that. What they did was they joined all the other Security Council members and they voted in favor of the resolution, and it passed and it condemned Israel's settlement building. Flynn, by the way, had worked previously for the Obama administration, but he had been fired for insubordination, but then found, despite being a Democrat, he found favor with the Trump administration because the Trump team was basically neocons and Zionists, which are synonymous. Ziocons means the same thing. And since his loyalty, it wasn't so much to a Democrat Party, Republican Party, it was loyalty to the agenda of Israel. That's who they pushed on Trump to have as the national security advisor. So the following month, January 2017, Donald Trump gets sworn in as president. The 21st, I think it is, the inauguration. Flynn holds a press conference and announces that the Trump administration is going to target Iran. Actually, let me back up just a little bit. Trump's sworn in late January. What they did not know at the time is that behind the scenes, because the FBI, since the previous year, had already been monitoring Trump's associates who might have ties with Russia and Israel. What they were doing was actually not monitoring Flynn. They had the phone of this Russian ambassador tapped. And so when Mike Flynn called in, remember, Trump has not taken office yet. When Mike Flynn calls in to the Russian ambassador is saying, hey, you know, we'll work some magic for you when we get into office if you will veto this thing to help out our buddy Israel. The FBI was listening, and they had it on tape. And so when the FBI approached Flynn about these calls, he lied to the FBI, which you can't do. You don't have to be under oath. If you lie to the FBI, it's illegal, which is why in all of the times I've been interviewed by the FBI, it's nerve-wracking because anything you say, it's as if you're under oath. And if you screw up and misspeak or say the wrong thing, they'll use it against you. They play hardball. So Flynn gets busted lying to the FBI, and he also lied about this. Vice President Mike Pence asked him about this, and Flynn said, no, I didn't do that. And Pence went to bat for him, which ended up humiliating Pence. And so now Pence is pissed off. So he's telling Trump, you got to, you know, this guy's, you don't have one of your people lying to me, the Vice President of the United States. And this puts Trump in the position of having to snuff out this FBI investigation into Flynn to avoid news that the Trump administration or the Trump team is doing this backroom dealing with Israel. They don't want this made public. So the week that Donald Trump assumed the presidency, which was the 23rd, I think on the 27th, he sat down and had dinner with James Comey. He knows he's the FBI director. And he asks Comey for two things. Trump says, I want your loyalty to me. And I want you to shut down the FBI investigation into Flynn. Comey responded, I don't give my loyalty to an individual, but to the truth. I, pursue whatever the facts are, which is not wholly true, but, we'll go with it. And he refused to shut down the investigation into Flynn. We have a lot of details about this stuff because, unbeknownst to Donald Trump at the time, Comey was documenting everything. So you guys are saying that you can only hear me out of the left speaker? Give me a second. Let me check my audio stuff and see. Test, test, test. Yeah, I see that on my own audio here. Sorry, this is going to, let me mute for a second. Yeah, I'm seeing it here on my audio properties. Huh. Yeah, I see it on the monitor. For some reason, it's not balanced. All of my switches, the balance shows that it's balanced, but it is not coming out balanced. Huh. Let me check one other thing here. Sorry, guys, I don't know why that is. I see it on my monitor here. It's only showing it out of the left side, and I don't know why that is. Can you hear me anyway? All right, it's one-sided. All right, I apologize for that. I'll see if I can. I'll have to wait till after the stream to fiddle around with it. But I do see that in my my mixer here. It's showing audio just on the left side for some reason. All right, so I will play around with that. And thank you guys that have made some donations. I will thank each of you here in just a few minutes. Nick says it's on his right speaker. Anyway, appreciate it. And keep those donations coming in. If we can get, I would love to get at least $50 in this stream. So far we've got a couple donations in. We have got a donation from Dennis, $5, says thanks for doing this, Jake. Nice to see you. Mary Kelly donated $5 as well. Thank you, Mary. So we've got $10. I would love for us to hit $50 or more during this stream. So let me just jump back here and get back to the story. Oh, and Steven says check the coffee. So I'll check the other options. I'm just looking at super chats, but at the end I'll also check the other ways that you can donate and see if there are any donations that came in that way. You guys are awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So Trump does not know this at the time, but Comey is keeping record of everything that Trump tells him. He's keeping it in his private journals, making notes, and this comes back to bite both of them in a way later on. Now, after this dinner, Trump knows immediately, this guy's not going to play ball. And if you have followed Donald Trump at all, one thing that you must recognize is he hates any perception of disloyalty. You are to be loyal to him above all else. You put him first. If he flip-flops on an issue, you better flip-flop with him. If you defend him on one point and then he changes to another point, another viewpoint, you better change with him. That's how it goes. Hey, thank you, Risha. Thanks, Jake. Thank you, Tariq. I'm going to thank you guys again in a minute. Thank you very much. So, February 1st, Donald Trump, by this point, even though it's only been a few days, he's already starting to publicly float ideas that maybe he just needs to fire Comey. He's getting some pushback from not only Democrats, but also Republicans are saying, why? February 1st. So we are roughly 12 days into the Trump administration. We now have Mike Flynn standing at the White House podium, and he makes a direct military threat to Iran, which is a clear indication that he and the Trump administration are going to be pushing a foreign policy agenda on behalf of Israel. Okay, another neocon administration. February 13th, 2017. This is now 24 days into the administration. As news of the FBI investigation into Flynn starts to filter into the public, he's forced to resign. You know, Trump he has no choice but to say, hey, I got to have your resignation. And it angered Trump very deeply that he had to axe one of his most loyal foot soldiers. Okay, so that's the first thing that's got him upset at Comey. Skip forward another month, another couple weeks into March. Comey confirms what Trump had not known for sure previously, and that is that the FBI the previous year had opened an investigation into possible ties between the Trump campaign, certain officials in the Trump campaign, and Russia, or assets related to Russia. Now, it turns out that a lot of these assets were actually Russian Jews with dual citizenship with Israel. And so this really was, as I said for years, this was misnamed. It shouldn't have been Russiagate. It should have been Israelgate, because the real influence was coming from Israel. But, you know, the Russiagate is what we got, which is why it was so skewed. All right. So when Trump finds out that this investigation is real, he sees this as a threat to his legitimacy as a president. And worse, he sees this as a sign of personal disloyalty from Comey, the very thing that he was trying to get from Comey. May 9th, despite the obvious appearance of firing Comey would be, the wrong thing to do, Trump does it. He fires Comey so that he could appoint a new director who could be more easily controlled, someone that could go in there and shut down this Russia investigation into whether or not there were ties between any Trump officials or Trump associates and these foreign agents connected to Russia. Now, Trump learned his lesson. If you look at his new administration, the first administration, what was happening? He was firing people. It seemed like every other week, Donald Trump was firing one of his closest associates because he didn't push that kind of loyalty in the first. The country was used to the way it had always worked in the past, which is people tended to be more loyal to the principles as they understood them of the Constitution than loyal to a certain political figure. But that was not the Trump way. So in this second administration, that's why we have wholly unqualified people running everything. People like Pete Hegseth, who was nothing more than a Fox News pundit, an idiot, an alcoholic, a womanizer, who is now in charge of the Pentagon. He's now the Secretary of War. It's insane. That's why you end up with someone like social media influencers like Dan Bongino as the deputy FBI director, Kash Patel as the FBI director, Trump's personal attorney, Pam Bondi as attorney general, someone who had covered for him back in Florida to prevent him from getting sued down in Florida over Trump University stuff. He's got people who he knows are loyal to him above all else in this administration, which is why we have so much incompetence in government right now. And that's one of the reasons. Well, anyway, this thing I said about Comey's journals, when he got fired on May 9th, 2017, he did a couple things. First of all, he quit the Republican Party. He said, you know what? This is not working. He quits the Republicans and he becomes an independent. Second thing is that he takes his journals and he arranges for notes that he had written about Donald Trump pressuring him. And he hands those notes over to a trusted friend of his, a Columbia law professor named Daniel Richman. And Comey has since testified, so we know this is true. He gave them to Richman because Richman had press contacts and he wanted this information about Donald Trump leaked to the press specifically so that it would prompt the appointment of a special counsel. What Comey's position was that if you've got the Justice Department, the FBI, they are supposed, in theory, they are supposed to be independent. They are not supposed to be doing the work of a Republican president going after Democrats. They're not supposed to be going after Republicans if you have a Democrat president. It's supposed to be neutral. What Comey's position was that now that he's going to put a yes man in to direct the FBI, that means there's not going to be the kinds of neutral investigations like they had been doing up until that point, where they went after everybody. They were going after Hillary, multiple investigations into Hillary, and also into Trump. So a special prosecutor would be appointed, and the guy that they got was, former FBI director himself, Robert Mueller. And I won't get into all that, but that's what happened. By leaking these memos to the press, it triggered so much outrage that Congress did call for the appointment of a special prosecutor. Now, this is something that Donald Trump has never forgiven James Comey for. So let's summarize here. What caused Trump to hate Comey? In Trump's mind, Comey refused to pledge loyalty to Trump. He refused to shut down the investigation into Mike Flynn to avoid giving Israel a black eye, and also Trump. And after Trump fired him, Comey's actions led to the special counsel appointment that broadened the investigation that ultimately led to an impeachment. Now, skipping forward, let me just run through a few key moments in the timeline in the years that followed. July 2019, we have the daughter of James Comey. Her name is Maureen Comey. She's an attorney. She is working as one of the prosecutors on Epstein's sex trafficking case in the Southern District of New York. Jeff Epstein and his associate Ghislaine Maxwell, as we all know, although it's not been proven in court, we all know that there's a considerable amount of corroborative evidence that they are linked to Israeli intelligence, certainly linked to the billionaire Zionist investors from the Mega Group and other investors who are tied in deeply to the Israeli intelligence community. Okay, that's July. You got Maureen Comey going after Epstein. But in August of 2019, Epstein's dead. So the case against Epstein is done. Maureen Comey then transitions over to prosecuting Epstein's associates. So that includes Ghislaine Maxwell. In July 2020, Maureen is appointed as the lead of the prosecution team against Ghislaine Maxwell. July 2nd, 2020, Ghislaine gets picked up by the FBI. When she's hiding out in New Hampshire, they grab her. Charges of recruiting, grooming, trafficking underage girls for Jeff Epstein. They deny her bail, and she's in prison, or she's in jail awaiting trial. That's July 2nd. Then we have on July 21st that infamous White House briefing where a reporter asked Trump what his thoughts were about Maxwell, and he said, "I just wish her well, frankly." Late July, in an Axios interview, he repeats it. He's asked again, are you standing by what you said about she's a child sex trafficker? You're wishing her well? And Trump says, quote, "Yeah, I wish her well." All right, which is weird, right? In September of 2020, Trump's Republican allies in the U.S. Senate's Judiciary Committee, because you've got the, when you have the majority switch from one party to the next, all of the heads of the committees become that party. So if the Republicans are in control of the U.S. Senate, then the chairman of each of the committees is going to be a Republican, unless they vote to appoint a Democrat instead. But that's almost never the case. So the Senate Judiciary Committee is led by boy wonder Lindsey Graham, the protege of John McCain. So he's leading this thing. They're conducting a review of the FBI's investigation into this Trump-Russia investigation, which was called Crossfire Hurricane, which is so stupid, but Crossfire Hurricane. So the Republicans want to get to the bottom of this, because Trump's like, go after him. James Comey gets subpoenaed to testify as part of that investigation, and the Republicans grill him on the FBI's handling of this Russiagate investigation. again, just like with Hillary, the Republicans did their best, but they could not find any evidence of wrongdoing by Comey during their investigation. At least not when it came to what Comey's FBI was doing in regards to Trump. But during the hearing, U.S. Senator Ted Cruz asked Comey some questions not related to Russiagate, but questions about how the FBI was handling the 2016 investigation into the Clinton Foundation. And Cruz specifically asked Comey if he had ever authorized someone at the FBI to act as an anonymous source to leak information to the press about that Clinton Foundation investigation. So basically, Ted Cruz is saying, James Comey, did you authorize a subordinate to leak information that you guys were investigating the Clinton Foundation? Under oath, James Comey said no. All right. Hold on to that. Let's skip forward. That was 2020. We're going to skip forward to just a couple months ago because we had that interlude there with the Biden years. But now we've got Trump back in office. July 2025, fury erupts online within the MAGA circles because Trump, through his sycophantic bootlicking appointees, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, Pam Bondi, you've got the FBI and the DOJ announcing, guess what? There is nothing to this Epstein thing. He acted alone. There was no one else that these girls were trafficked to. They were all just for Jeff Epstein himself. No one else did anything wrong. No evidence of anything. Okay. MAGA was pissed off about that. It is rare that Donald Trump supporters get mad at Trump about anything. And I guess actually they didn't get mad at Trump because they just blame Bondi and Patel. They act like, oh yeah, this isn't coming from Trump. This is these guys. He fired Pam Bondi. She's terrible, even though she's doing exactly what Trump wants. So July 2025, you've got fury over this. What is Trump's response? Who does Trump blame? He says that the Epstein files, this is 100,000 pages of documents. He said the Epstein files were written by Barack Obama, by Hillary Clinton, and by James Comey. And any of his supporters who don't believe that are weaklings, and he doesn't want their support. That's insane. Being the followers they are, they're like, don't call us weak and everything, but yeah, we're still going to support you no matter what. All right. July 16th, Trump does something that kind of goes under the radar, but I think it's significant. July 16th, he has the Department of Justice fire somebody. Who? Prosecutor Maureen Comey, who is going after Ghislaine Maxwell. And Maureen Comey is going after associates of Epstein who are in these files. So you're done. Maureen Comey, you're fired. July 23rd. It's not just a Democrat against Trump thing. The Republican-led U.S. House Oversight Committee, they vote 8-2 to subpoena Ghislaine Maxwell to testify to Congress. And on that same day, you had another Republican-led Government Operations Committee that voted unanimously. So this is Republicans and Democrats, unanimous vote to subpoena Maxwell to testify to Congress. So you've got two Republican-led committees voting to subpoena Maxwell. Trump does not want Ghislaine Maxwell to testify to the U.S. Congress. And so in July, to prevent that, so once something passes a committee vote, it has to go out to the full floor for a vote. And so now you need the full House vote on whether or not to subpoena Maxwell. And it was absolutely clear easy majority of the Republicans and Democrats were going to subpoena her. They want to get to the bottom of this. So what does Trump do? He has House Speaker Mike Johnson recess Congress early for the summer to avoid that vote. And Johnson admitted that it was to give Trump space to handle the Maxwell thing. So a day or two later, this is July 24th, 25th, Trump sends another of his personal attorneys, defense lawyer who is now deputy AG under Pam Bondi, his name is Todd Blanche, sends Todd Blanche to meet privately with Ghislaine Maxwell, which is unprecedented. Blanche gives Maxwell immunity from prosecution for anything that she says. So basically that's saying, you can lie. You can tell us whatever. We are not going to come after you. Doesn't matter what you say. We're not going to come after you for what you tell us. And so what does she say? Donald Trump was a perfect gentleman. I never saw him do anything wrong. Are they going after? It's like they're not even trying to get information on anyone. It's just, will you clear Trump? Now, was this quid pro quo? Well, what happened? Immediately after that interview, which was conducted outside of the prison, which also is unprecedented, they send Maxwell back with a nice fat box of supplies, send her home with some goodies. Reports start to emerge that Trump is considering pardoning Maxwell. July 25th, Maxwell's own lawyer publicly floats this idea, and Trump is asked about it, and he didn't say, no, I'm not going to pardon her. Trump said, quote, it's not the time yet. It's not the time. So that means that it's in his brain. It's in his mind. August 1st, what did Trump do next? He has Maxwell transferred from her low security prison in Tallahassee to a minimum security camp in Bryan, Texas. And critics are like, what the hell is this? Special treatment for a convicted sex trafficker who has given no helpful information? Who avoided congressional subpoena? Who is clearly being manipulated and used? Not that her testimony under oath is something I would trust at all, but still being used as a prop by Trump to try and quell the furor from his own supporters over his connections to Maxwell. And in late August, the Trump DOJ publishes Maxwell's interview statement that she was never aware of any Epstein client list. She said Trump did nothing wrong. Now, you know that this is BS because she also says, I never did anything wrong either. All right. That's August. And this brings us to September. Trump's DOJ files charges against James Comey. Now, pretty much every day since, Trump has viciously attacked Comey in interviews. And he's been promising that the Department of Justice is going to go after more people, anyone out there involved in the actions against him in his first term. So this is retribution. And he's actually shooting himself in the foot with all of these public statements. It's really making it look like this is vindictive prosecution. Doesn't matter. Maybe there is something legitimate there in the case against Comey, but Trump is undermining it because he can't keep his mouth shut because he's got so much hatred. He can't be quiet about it. So let's review the actual case against Comey. What is it that they're going after him for? Well, this is the thing that's so crazy. It's really ironic. It shows that Trump hates Comey so much he's willing to use anything he can to try and get his revenge on Comey, because the charges against Comey are not even related to Russiagate. Has nothing to do with anything he did against Trump. It's over what the FBI was doing in their investigation against Hillary Clinton. So the two charges that the DOJ has filed are, 1, making false statements to Congress, 2, obstruction of a congressional proceeding. So this all goes back to that statement I told you about that Comey made in September 2020 when he told Ted Cruz, no, he did not authorize a leak of information about the Clinton Foundation investigation. So think about this. Trump's Department of Justice alleges that Comey's denial of authorizing a leak about the Clinton investigation, they're saying that was untrue, that he lied. When he said the word no, he was lying. And that therefore constitutes perjury. And because it was given during the testimony was given during congressional investigation, that alleged lie constitutes obstruction of congressional proceeding. So the DOJ is alleging in its case that Comey actually did authorize his deputy director, Andrew McCabe, to provide information about the Clinton investigation to reporters. And that's it. That's the entire case. That's the whole thing they're going after James Comey for, that he said no to that. Oh, maybe he did it. I don't know. He's got a history of leaking, so it's possible. But there's no evidence to support that. Remember, the revelations to the press in October 2016 that Hillary Clinton and her foundation were under FBI investigation, that's a major reason that she dropped in the polls and lost the election. So the irony of all of this is that Donald Trump is trying to get James Comey put into prison for helping Trump win the 2016 election. That's why he said Trump will, they'll go after anything. If they had any evidence that Comey did anything wrong related to this Russiagate investigation, they'd be using that. But they don't. They don't have anything. The best they've got is they believe that he must have authorized McCabe to leak information to the Wall Street Journal. So at this point, early Inspector General reviews have not found any clear evidence that Comey authorized McCabe to leak information. They've already looked into it, and we already know the results of that. So unless the DOJ has some spectacular secret information that it hasn't revealed yet, which would be something like Andrew McCabe himself testifying to the FBI that, yes, Comey did authorize this, or if there's some smoking gun like an email from Comey saying, yes, I authorize you to leak this information to the press, which would be just dumbfoundingly stupid to put that in writing. Unless the FBI has something like that, or the DOJ has something like that, odds are very good that this case is not going to work out in their favor, that it's not about winning. So if it's not about winning, what is it about? It's about weaponizing the justice system against Trump's enemies. Harass them, cause them public humiliation, cost them massive financial strain from the cost of federal defense litigation, and so on. This, guys, I have strong feelings about this because that's what they did to me. That was the thing about the Vegas investigation and why I had to drop it. Because it wasn't about whether or not they had any dirt on me. They wanted my sources. They wanted me to shut up. And when I looked into, when they came after me and I looked into what it was going to cost, and I consulted a federal attorney who argues these cases in federal court, he said, just so you know, it doesn't matter if you're guilty or innocent, you're looking at likely having to mortgage your house. This is going to cost you at minimum $100,000 to defend yourself against this if this goes to court, if they take you to court. And so that's how they do it. That's what the FBI and other agencies do to shut up journalists. Is it doesn't matter if they've got dirt against you. You can still take someone to court and go after them. And so that was the concern. That's when I knew, it's just not worth it. It's not worth the emotional turmoil. I don't know how many of you have been involved in lawsuits. I've been in a handful of lawsuits. They are not, it takes a mental toll on you. Even if you win, I've won every one of my lawsuits. I've been in 4 lawsuits. I've won every one. And I've actually litigated all of them pro se. Well, I had to use, in one, I had to use an attorney, but I wrote the case and she carried it out. She did what I told her to do. But it takes an emotional toll on you. It takes a huge financial toll. It consumes your time, sets you back, disrupts relationships, businesses. So that's the thing. This is what, when you hear the term lawfare, that's what it is. It is using the law as a form of warfare, lawsuits to hurt your enemies. And in the end, even if you don't win the case or it gets dismissed, you've accomplished your real goal, which is to punish the person. But so did Comey lie to Congress? I don't know. But as always, I'm going to watch the facts as they unfold and adapt my views based on that evidence. I am not a fan of Comey. I don't like him. And in fact, I'll play this video in a second. Hopefully the audio will be good. And let me know if the audio is good on this in a second. Give me a thumbs up or a 5x5 so that I know. But, that's how I think we should all be when it comes to reviewing information or evidence or making up our minds about whether it's politics or whatever else. Gather the best information you have from multiple sources, because all sources are going to have some degree of bias. Weigh them all together. Try and be as open and honest, fearlessly honest with yourself. Be ready, willing to change your position if you find that the evidence no longer supports what you have believed. Now, you can retain that and keep in the back of your head. Hopefully I'll come back to this. Maybe I'll resurrect this theory I have if I ever do come up with some evidence to support it. But as long as there is evidence to the contrary, I need to be intellectually honest, suck in, my pride, not let my ego get the best of me, and go where the facts take me. And that's a big problem in politics today, is it's about trying to live in an echo chamber where you only accept so-called facts that support your theory or support the position of your side. The other side presents information such as the mountain of evidence that Donald Trump is either hiding this Epstein stuff to protect himself or to protect people that he is beholden to. Either way, the amount of available information that Donald Trump is compromised over this is just slam dunk, but you will not get a lot of the Trump supporters to see that. Likewise with the Democrats. You cannot get a lot of Democrats to look at the cold hard facts and conclude, as any rational person would, that Hillary Clinton was corrupt as hell. They won't believe it. That's just how it is. But anyway, so let me know in the chat there, was any of this illuminating? Did you hear anything tonight that maybe is new or provides greater depth to this story? I think it's a very interesting story. On the surface, it just sounds like a boring whatever, Trump going after somebody, but this is going to be duplicated as he goes after other people that I don't like. For example, John Bolton. You guys remember I used to sell Smash the Stash, the John Bolton t-shirts. I can't stand John Bolton. Now, if he did anything illegal, fine, but I don't support, even for political enemies that I don't like, I do not support weaponizing the system, making our justice system a partisan tool to use against political foes. I think it is wrong. I know it is wrong. And I find it shameful that so many, we've got Republicans in office right now. I find it shameful that Republicans are cheering on this absolute perversion of justice. We can go after anybody in politics for something that they've done or said, because the fact is most politicians and bureaucrats are crooks. You can find dirt on anybody. But is there a reason to be bringing this stuff up? Is there a reason to be going after only Donald Trump's enemies who spoke out against him? That is wrong. That is wrong. And when the other side does anything similar to that, I condemn that as well. I'm not taking sides on this. It just happens that the person in power right now is Donald Trump. And man, does he have a petty uh, a very weak ego, very thin-skinned, cannot handle criticism, can't handle anything. That's why you see him making a fool of himself on like the world stage at the UN, talking about, I won bigly, and you guys all suck because you haven't given me a Nobel Peace Prize for ending 7 wars, which is total BS. He's a man baby. And speaking of being a man baby, and then I'm going to play this video. Did you guys see there's a video out there from the Charlie Kirk Memorial where Erica Kirk, Charlie's wife, Trump puts his arm around her and does that funny thing with his mouth, that twisted thing like he did. You can see him doing the same thing in the videos where he's groping the cheerleaders, the NFL cheerleaders at the party at Mar-a-Lago with Jeff Epstein. And Trump's doing his, he's got his hot pink tie on. He's doing his hot sweaty dance, and he's, keeps doing his funny, cool guy mouth or whatever it is. So anyway, he does that as he kind of puts his arm around Erica Kirk. But if you watch the video from the backside, Erica Kirk, she responds by putting her arm around his waist, and when she moves her hand down, it catches, and you see the outline of something very thick inside of Donald Trump's pants. I mean, on the backside. There's nothing thick on the front side. We know that from what, Stormy Daniels confirmed. But on the backside, what was it? It's a diaper. There have been all, theories for years about this, but you can see a pretty good outline of something huge in that man's backside. Unless he's got a really deformed butt, that he's wearing a diaper. Anyway, I just thought that was kind of funny. All right, you got TDS, Jake. Jake's got TDS. I would retort if I was if I was perhaps more foul, I would mention that TDS is actually the sickness of the people who are Trump bootlickers, that it actually stands for Trump dong slurper, or Trump D sucker or something. I think that's what TDS actually means. Freaking snowflakes. All right, let me play this video for you. While this video is going on, I'm going to skip forward a little bit. You'll hear my voice I actually had a cold, so I'm kind of stuffed up in the video. But I'm talking about James Comey. This is from 2017. I'll play a few minutes of it. And during that, if anyone has any last minute super chats to get in, go ahead, get them in now. If you have made a donation to Buy Me a Coffee or any other platform, mention it again here in the chats, and I'll make sure and find it. And during the video, I'm going to be filling out the slips of paper to get ready for the drawing after the video, okay? All right. Here we go. Hopefully the audio won't be too loud, but you can let me know if it's too loud. Can you hear that okay?
criminal intent to violate the law. But that's not his place to decide what prosecutors would think or what legal arguments they may choose to make in order to prove intent on the part of Hillary Clinton. The fact is that Director Comey knew that Hillary Clinton was guilty and that she should be punished. He admitted as much when he said, quote, "To be clear, this is not to suggest that in similar circumstances, a person who engaged in this activity..."
I actually can't turn the volume up anymore. Sorry.
Those individuals are often subject to security or administrative sanctions. And yet he recommended that no charges be filed against Clinton. It wasn't just Republicans that were shocked by this obvious effort to protect Hillary Clinton from prosecution. Even Democrats knew that Comey was screwing things up. Director Comey's decision was so politically partisan that he was grilled over and over by Congress about his decision to turn a blind eye to Hillary Clinton's crimes against the American people.
Secretary Clinton said she never sent or received any classified information over her private email. Was that true?
Our investigation found that there was classified.
All right. Sounds like everybody is saying you can't hear.
That's what I said.
All right.
Secretary Clinton said there was nothing marked classified.
All right. So I'm going to...
Was that true?
That's not true.
Secretary Clinton said, "I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email. There is no classified material."
I'm going to go ahead and pause it. I actually can't make it go any louder than that. So instead, I'm just going to finish the... I'm going to finish filling out these slips for the drawing. And then we'll do the drawing. Sorry about that. I don't know what it is. What it is I'm using OBS for the first time, the last stream or two, and I haven't gotten all of this stuff figured out yet. All right, I see. Just looking to see what we've got other than the super chats. Sorry about that. I apologize about the audio on that video. I can hear it through my headphones just fine, but it's not going through. Yeah, Wake Rider said it's ASMR. All right, let me check the... I do have some stuff here. We've got Steven. Also, this music is probably too low for you to hear, but there's a little bit of music going on right now. Can you hear that or no? No, you can't hear that either. Sorry. So you're just sitting here listening to me breathe. Wish I had something that would come through, but if those aren't working, then you're not going to hear anything that I play. So I'll work on that for next stream. Okay, I've got Buy Me a Coffee, and Beyond the Veil says I hear the music. Very quiet, yeah, very quiet music. And there's R Factor. All right. Donation from R Factor. Okay, I am going to run through these. Donations, and let's make sure I've got them all, okay? All right. First of all, I'll go in no particular order. I've got a $10 donation from Steven. So we've got 2 entries for Steven. Thank you, Steven. Next, I have got let me fold these up and drop them in the jar there. So Stephen, all right, I have got the donation from R Factor, so 2 entries for R Factor. Tariq made a $20 donation, and so Tariq, I have got 1, 2, 3, 4 entries for you, my friend. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Gina, some of these are old slips and some are new ones. Gina, thank you so much for your donation. Got 1 for you there. 1 for you there. Dennis, and if I get any of these wrong, not enough, let me know. Dennis, I've got your donation there. Thank you, Dennis. I was wondering, Tariq, if I'm saying it right. I could be saying it wrong. I prefer to pronounce people's names properly, but if I ever say someone's name wrong, like Risha, I don't know how to pronounce your name, Risha. I just say Risha because that's how it looks spelled to me, but phonetically you can spell it out. Okay, more like Derek. So Tarek. Tarek? Would it be like Tarek? Marjorie. Thank you, Marjorie. There you go. All right. Tarek, I will remember that. I will try to remember that. Thank you, Mary. Appreciate you. All right. So, am I missing anyone that has subscribed to anything or made a donation? I can check real quick if there's anything else. But I think that is... Okay, Risha. So instead of Risha, it's like Risha. Risha, and Tarek. All right. All right, everybody. Does that seem right? We'll shake this up in a second. I want to make sure before we draw the name that we got you right. Remember, tonight's prize is going to be your choice of the following: a 1 month at the $5 level, 1 month of either Patreon, a month of Substack, a month of YouTube channel memberships. All three of those, you get essentially the same benefits. They're just in different places. So that's one option. Option number 2 is tonight's transcript. I will type it up, print it out, sign it, and write a personal letter to you. Like I have this one to, I'm not going to show you the address on the front, but that's 11 pages that I'm sending to R Factor from a previous win. So that's an option as a prize. There is the Jeff Epstein, this air freshener didn't hang itself. And then there is your the option of the Free Palestine bracelet, just whatever that stuff's called, the rubber, I forget what it's called. The flag and Free Palestine in English and Arabic. So those are the options. So keep that in mind. I need to get some music here. There's a guy that I watch that just does like old movies, horror movies, mostly old 50s stuff, named Mr. Lobo from Cinema Insomnia. And he does something like this, but he plays the Cars video, Shake It Up, while he does it. But that's on Twitch, and they don't have the same kind of censorship there. At the end of the show, Twitch will automatically remove copyrighted music so you don't get strikes. But YouTube, if I played something here probably before the stream is even over, I'd be getting a copyright notice. But anyway, all right. Let me take the lid off. These are all mixed up. And make sure it's on the camera where you guys can see, so you know there's no funny business. All right, my eyes are closed, mixing it up. I'm grabbing the first one in my hand here. Set that down. Okay, it's a pink slip. Whose name is that? It's rigged. What in the world? I'll tell you what. How about this, R Factor? Let me give you a prize of your choice, and it could also be, if not one of those, if you want to do a like a 15-minute phone call or something, we can do that too, because you just won. But in addition to R Factor winning, I'm going to have a second winner tonight. So R Factor says transcript. All right, so I'm going to set you here, and then we're going to do a second drawing for an additional person. How about that? So we'll have 2 winners tonight. All right. Here we go, into the candy jar. Okay, who's this? This is a yellow one. Who could the winner be? It's Tarek. Congratulations, Tarek. Woohoo! Big round of applause for our two Anthony Wieners tonight. I know, what an insult. Our two winners, Tarek and R Factor. So Tarek, same thing with you, my friend. What you can do is email me. Let me put my email here. Jake@blackstoneintel.com. Either tonight or tomorrow when it's convenient for you, email me. If you want something mailed to you, then you'll of course need to give me an address to send it to, and I keep it private. I won't share it anywhere publicly. But you can have one of these items, and I can mail that to you. Either a copy of the transcript, the bracelet, the whatever, and then if you prefer something like the Substack or Patreon or something, that you don't have to give an address for, because that's going to be I don't need it for that. I'll just need your email address to get you set up. But anyway, so that's that. We've got two winners. I earned a little bit of cash tonight to help cover my gas for tomorrow for the drive I've got to do. Maverick says, I'd ask for a book from Jake's library. Hey, you know, I've given out some books from my library as a gift. I've got some though that I would not part with them. I have some that are I've got 3 bookcases here, and you can't see it, but I've got a bookcase here. Then I've got 2 bookcases there, 2 bookcases on that wall over there, a bookcase right as you enter my kitchen, bookcase in the living room, some books in the downstairs bathroom and a guest room. Then upstairs in my bathroom, there's a small bookcase, and then books around my bedroom. And then in my son's room, there's a bookcase. My girls have got tons of books, but I don't keep a bookcase in their room. I have to keep it in a different room because they tear up their books. They're still young. And then I've got 2 or 3 bookcases in one of my workrooms. So we are a book-loving family. We love books. They are everywhere in our house. I love books. Anyway, when I lived in Thailand, books were treated kind of sacred. They didn't think of them as sacred, but they had a very healthy respect for books. Like you would not put a book. You don't usually sit at a table there. You're usually sitting on the floor, and I'm talking about outside of Bangkok. Throughout the rest of the country, you're usually sitting on a mat on a dirt floor or cement floor, and you would not put your books down on the floor. You certainly would not ever step on a book. Anyway. So that's that. I appreciate each one of you. As a consolation prize, any of you that made a donation tonight, if you'd like a postcard from me, do the same thing. Send me your address to jake@blackstoneintel.com. Say, hey, Jake, I made a donation tonight. Can I get a postcard? And I would be glad to send you a Blackstone Intelligence postcard. I'll fill it out, send it to you. And that's that. All right, guys, I don't have any good music or anything to send us off here, so I guess I'll just wrap it up. Thank you all for hanging out with me. It was very quick compared to to how long I normally take. What did we do? We kept this under 2 hours, I think. Yeah, I'm at 1 hour, 39 minutes. So that's not exactly. I'm about half an hour over what my goal was, but pretty close. This is really good for me. And we'll just close it up. So once again, thank you all for supporting me, for listening. I like it when people agree with me, but that's not what I'm after. What I'm after is an exchange of ideas with people who are just interested in learning and growing and trying to understand things. And I really appreciate people with open minds. In fact, I think that a lot of the people I'll be visiting with tomorrow, probably on certain issues, that we're going to be very far apart on some things. But it's never crossed my mind, oh, I don't want to go hang out with these people or talk to them because their politics are going to be different from mine. I like exchanging ideas with people, and I often think that I'm right about something, but I also have enough experience being wrong about things to know that I'm not always right. And so I learn from other people. Beyond the Veil says, can you do email reminders for the live streams, seeing as YouTube doesn't send notifications anymore? I could try, but I need to have your email. So if you guys want to get notifications from me outside of YouTube, what you need to do is go to blackstoneintel.substack.com. In fact, I'll type it in here. blackstoneintel.substack.com. When you go there, on the front page, you'll have the option of putting your email address in and signing up as a free subscriber. I don't usually send a lot of reports or things like that out, but I do send out like previews and some things. But that is how I can stay in touch with you guys, since I'm not getting a whole lot of support from YouTube with the communication to my followers. The fact that, I've got about 200,000 subscribers on YouTube or followers on YouTube, and we've had let me look at the analytics here. During this stream, I've only had 607 views. We've had around 100 viewers at the most at any given time, concurrent viewers. So it's, that's pretty heavy suppression. And that's really not cool. Really not cool. But anyway, that's how you can get information from me. And also take the time, as I've mentioned in a previous stream, what my wife pointed out to me is that even though she keeps going in and enabling the notifications, because she's subscribed so she can catch live streams, what she has found is that the YouTube system goes in and will either unsubscribe her from notifications completely, or will go in and change the notification option from all to whatever it says, to some. So you need to go in and routinely, whether it's my channel or any others that you want to get notifications for, anytime you go to their channel, take a second, double check. You may need to re-enable your notifications, because YouTube does definitely screw around, because they engage in, mind manipulation. They want to steer you away from certain content and toward others. And so viewpoints like the kind of stuff that I present, that's not popular, and that's not what they want you to hear. So you got to be vigilant. Anyway, thank you guys for hanging out with me. I enjoyed it. Enjoyed talking with you. It's so good seeing people like Steven out there. Tarek. Marvin is jumping in here kind of late. Hey, Marvin, good to see you, buddy. So many of you there that have been with me for, some of you, years. So thank you guys. As I'm leaving here, any last minute thoughts on what you would like to see, not just specific topics, but any elements to the show that I've tried in the past that you liked, whether it's games, showing old video clips, book reviews, I don't know, doing movie reviews, what is it that you'd like to see more of? Leave it in the comments here on the live stream, or after the live stream is over. Put that down in the comments, what you'd like to see more of. And if it's the same, if you just want to see more of the same stuff, just say more of the same, please, and that'll help boost this in the algorithm. Okay. Thank you guys. Hope you have a great Sunday, and I will be back with you in just a couple of days. Take care, guys. Bye bye.